Hey kids, in this quick video we're going to explore the different traits of life with the help of my Labrador retrievers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a short video clip, and then I'm going to ask you to actually identify the trait of life, and then I'll go on to explain it, because some of these I think you already know. So let's get right to it. Traits of life. First of all, you should know that biology literally means the study of life. Bio means life, ology is the study of. So you might think that there's certain traits that we have as humans that all living things share, but not necessarily. Like living things don't always have to have blood. They don't always need oxygen. So the traits of life that all living things share are relatively few, 7 or 8 depending on what biology text you're looking at. So let's dive in and look at the traits of life. You ready? Here are my two labs. This is Ty and this is Boo. And they're purebred Labrador retrievers. Now let's take a look at our first trait of life. Come here guys. Sit! 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 That's down. Down. Okay. What trait of life is that? Whoa! Okay, well you should have recognized that trait as the trait of response. Living things have the ability to respond to their environment. And they respond to what we call a stimulus. Okay, for the next trait of life we have to use our magnification power. Check it out. Come here. Ty. Sit. Sit. Let's look really close at Ty. Sit. Let's get closer and closer. Oh, check it out. Ty's cells. How convenient. They're even labeled. So the next trait of life is that living things are made of cell. Cells are the basic building blocks of almost all the things that make up your body, with a few exceptions like fingernails. This brick wall is a great model of a living thing because even as the brick wall is made up of smaller units called bricks, living things are made of smaller units called cells, and together all those cells make up the structure of the living thing. So cells are the basic unit of structure and function in living thing. And in fact, scientists consider cells to be the smallest thing in a living organism that's alive. Now the next trait of life. Oh, are you interested in that? Are you interested? What is that? Go ahead. Whoa! How about you, Jesse? Oh, what trait is that? I bet you got that one. Living things need to obtain materials and energy. Now the way they get their energy differs. Like animals get their energy by eating other things, and as you probably know, plants get their energy from the sun. And so, and as you know, living things need different types of materials, but all living things need materials, especially water. That's one of the big ones that all living things need, and they need to obtain energy to survive. So, as you know, living things require materials. Some materials that we take in, like protein, it's found in milk, is broken down in our digestive system and then built back up in the cells to make things like muscle. And then other things, materials that we take in, like sports drinks that have a lot of sugar, that sugar is actually broken down in the cells to provide energy, so it doesn't necessarily become part of us. So living things, when they take in materials, some things they build back up, other things they break down to get energy, and the combination of building up and breaking down, we call that metabolism, the total chemical reactions in a living thing. What happens to food, materials, when animals obtain it? Well, as you know, That food is processed. It's used for energy. Some of those materials, after they're broken down, are built back up to make muscle. And whatever's not used is waste. Ty, no! Ty! That's unacceptable recycling. Oh, Ty, bad idea. That's no way to obtain materials. What are you thinking, Ty? Okay, for the next trait of life, take a real close look at the dots, and you're going to see a change between this first clip and the second clip. Ty, look up here. Okay, you're going to notice something different. Now you notice a difference. Dogs can't sweat because of their coats. Sit. So what they have to do to cool off is they get blood to flow through their tongue, and then they breathe air in and out over their tongue. And that cools the blood in their tongue, which is kind of like a radiator, and cools their whole body. We call that homeostasis. Living things have the ability to maintain internal conditions despite what's happening in the environment. So that's another trait of life, homeostasis. In this case, temperature control. Okay, Boo, come over here. These are your parents, Boo. Can you figure out which group of parents are yours and which one are Ty's? Huh? Okay, kids, here's Boo. Get a good look at her. Now, which two parents do you think belong to Boo? These two? Or these two? I'm sure you got that one right. The two parents that are dark fur are Boo's parents. And this brings up the next trait of life. Because living things have a limited lifespan, they have to reproduce to keep going. In order to reproduce, they need a genetic code. The genetic code's a chemical that's passed from one generation to another, and that's DNA. And DNA is what causes offspring to look similar to their parents. Now, recently my brother did a genetic screening of his DNA to find out as much as he could about potential diseases in our family, and you'll never guess what they found in our DNA. This is the skull of a Neanderthal. Neanderthals were the ones that lived in caves in Europe. Notice the thick brow ridges here. If a Neanderthal man walked down the streets today, it looked pretty similar to today's modern humans. And that brings up another trait of life. Living things evolve. Here you see a depiction of a Neanderthal next to a modern human. So again, here's my kids when they were young. Here's my kids now. The two on the left, Ryan and Tara. You can see they've gone through growth and development. Here's another example of growth and development. That little guy right there, that's me. You look close, I don't have a beard. And I'm only about 2.5 feet tall. So, not only have I gotten bigger, but I've also developed. Developing is to become a mature adult. So, living things grow, they get bigger, and they mature into an adult form. So, there you have it. Growth and development. So there you have it, the traits of life. Did you know that some things show some of the traits of life, but not all of them? And it's important that if we want to define something as being alive, that it meets all those criteria that we just looked at. For example, there's an object that seems to be alive, but isn't, has some of the traits of life, but not all of them, and it makes you sick. Do you know what it is? Viruses have several of the traits of life. For example, they have a genetic code and they respond to the presence of cells, but they're not actually made of cells themselves. So viruses are not considered to be alive. There you have it, the traits of life.